Good evening. I am Uyai, and I can come to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Today on Spotlight Africa, the United States warns citizens against travel to northern Togo. Ukraine president holds talks with Ugandan leader. Equatorial Guinea rejects European Union Parliament resolution. Zambia disowns explicit content in school books. Plus, red alert as Cyclone Freddy heads to Mozambique. We'll bring you details of these stories and more on Spotlight Africa. To stay with us. Thanks for joining us. First in Spotlight Africa, United States government has issued a travel advisory warning its nationals of possible militant attacks and kidnappings in Togo. It also cautioned Americans against traveling to Sokode, Bafilo and Mango towns near the Benin border. Northern Togo residents recently fled their homes after a militant attack in two villages bordering Benin killed 10 people. In another development, Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni and Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky have held talks for the first time. A tweet by the Ukrainian president said they outlined the Ukrainian peace initiatives at the United Nations. He said they also discussed the potential for the development of bilateral relations. Zelensky said that he expected close cooperation, especially in strengthening food security. It came as the 193-member UN General Assembly met to debate a Ukraine-backed motion calling for a vote on a resolution for achieving peace in Ukraine. The Assembly has voted on 3 resolutions opposing the Russian invasion in the past year, receiving between 140 and 143 votes in favor. Meanwhile, Tunisian President Kais Saied has called for emergency measures to be taken against large numbers of irregular migrants from sub-Saharan Africa. Saied is quoted as saying that the influx of migrants was aimed at changing the country's demographic makeup, in remarks criticized by rights groups as racist. The president spoke at a meeting with the country's National Security Council. Tunisia is a key transit point for migrants and refugees seeking to move to Europe. Meanwhile, dozens of migrants have been detained by Tunisian authorities in a crackdown. Elsewhere, fighting resumed in the disputed town of Las Anod in the self-declared Republic of Somaliland, which is situated in the north of Somalia. The number of casualties from the latest fighting is not yet known, but the international community of the Red Cross and Crescent states that over 150 people have been killed and over 600 wounded since the violence began on the 6th of February. It was sparked when the Bete clan elders reportedly issued a declaration stating that they no longer considered themselves part of Somaliland and the Sul, Snag and Kian regions would now be governed by Somalia. Meanwhile, a ceasefire was briefly declared on February 10th, but the two parties have accused each other of violating it since then. Meanwhile, the US, Britain and European Union are reportedly to announce fresh sanctions targeting military commanders and militia leaders involved in the ongoing fighting in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. This fresh round of sanctions will target military commanders from the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. The two countries have traded accusations over the conflict in the mineral-rich region of DR Congo. Meanwhile, Eastern DR Congo has seen an escalation of fighting in recent days between Congolese forces and rebel groups that has killed thousands and displaced millions more. Away from that, there's been heavy damage to buildings along with power cuts and flooding in eastern Madagascar as Cyclone Freddy struck the region. Meanwhile, 4 people are reported to have been killed. Among the casualties was a 77-year-old man who drowned near the town of Monoro. Roofs were torn off buildings there. The weather system has rapidly weakened as it heads southwest across Madagascar. In the meantime, Mozambican authorities are setting up shelters and preparing to evacuate people in high-risk areas as the southern African country braces for Cyclone Freddy. The powerful cyclone made landfall in neighboring Madagascar on Tuesday, where it killed 5 people, and is expected to intensify before it hits south-central Mozambique on Friday. According to officials, the provinces of Sofala, Himbene, Manica and Geza provinces are the most at risk. Meanwhile, a red alert has been issued by the National Risk Management Agency that allows for response operations to be expedited. Heavy rains have already caused flooding in some parts of the country, and the authorities say additional rain from the cyclone might affect up to 1.75 million people. Meanwhile, laboratory analyses have confirmed that deaths of fish on Mozambique beaches earlier this month were caused by large amounts of fresh water from rivers flowing into the sea. On Wednesday, Fisheries Minister Lydia Cardoso said the results revealed that the main cause had to do with the change in climatic conditions. She also dispelled rumors that the fish had died because of chemical poisoning. Elsewhere, people living in areas prone to flooding in Mozambique's southern province of Gaza will be forcefully removed amid heavy rains in the province. According to Provincial Secretary of State Lourenco Lidonde, a planned release of water from the Masinga Dam could also result in death. Meanwhile, Gaza is also likely to experience the weather effects of Cyclone Freddy, which has caused destruction in the island of Madagascar. We move now to Burkina Faso, where the military government is preparing to rebury the remains of former President Thomas Sankara today, even after his family said they would not attend. The private ceremony will be held at the spot where Sankara was gunned down, along with 12 others in a military coup in October of 1987. His family said they would not attend because they were not satisfied with the side. But the government said the choice was guided by socio-cultural and security imperatives of national interest. Sankara remains a hero for many across Africa because of his anti-imperialist stance and aust lifestyle. The government says his reburial will be done according to customary and religious funeral rites. Sankara rose to power in 1983 and was killed 4 years later at the age of 37 in a coup led by his close friend Blaise Compaoré. Kenya launches probe into sex abuse claims at UKT firms. Stay tuned for details of this and more after the break. Thanks for staying tuned. Kenya lawmakers say they will investigate accusations of sexual abuse on tea plantations that supply some of Britain's most popular brands. More than 70 women working in the plantations in Kenya's Rift Valley told an undercover investigation by newsmen that they had been sexually abused by their supervisors for years. According to reports, the documentary broadcast this week caused an uproar in Kenya, one of the world's biggest tea exporters. Koriko County Women's Representative in Parliament, Beatrice Kemai, whose constituency covers the areas where the tea farms are based, has called for the urgent prosecution of the perpetrators. Still in Kenya, where comedian Eric Omondi has been freed following his arrest on Tuesday after leading a group of half-naked men in protests outside Parliament. The group had carried banners while demonstrating against the high cost of living in the country. They demanded to meet the Speaker to submit their grievances. Police fired tear gas to disperse them and arrested 17 people. Today, they were charged with creating an unlawful assembly outside Parliament but denied wrongdoing. They were each released on a cash bail of 10,000 shillings. Their lawyers said the group had wanted to meet members of Parliament to address the issue of poverty. Recall that in February 2022, the comedian locked himself in a cube outside Parliament to lobby members of Parliament to increase the quota of locally produced music being played on radio and TV in the country. Away from that, Equatorial Guinea Vice President Theodore Nguema Obiang has dismissed a resolution by the European Parliament which holds Equatorian authorities responsible for the death of opposition leader Julio Obama Methuman. In a series of posts, Obiang Magui, who is also the son of President Theodore Obiang Nguema, accused the European Parliament of resorting to a colonial and paternalistic discourse and of disparaging the Equatorial Guinea institution and its representatives. Methuman, a Spanish national and member of the opposition movement for the liberation of the Third Republic of Equatorial Guinea, was accused by the authorities of plotting to overthrow the government. According to the sect, Methuman and 3 other descendants were lured to South Sudan under false pretenses and then forcibly flown to Equatorial Guinea, where they were tortured over an alleged coup plot. In the meantime, Guinea's transitional leader, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, has urged the Constitutional Review Committee to consider the needs and realities of the country and draft a robust new supreme law. He warned the committee against drafting a copy and paste or tailor-made constitution for the country. The junta leader said that the National Transitional Committee is committed to helping the country to thrive in the time that they live in. We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we'll bring you the concluding part of Spotlight Africa. To stay with us. Thanks for staying tuned. An Ethiopian civil engineering graduate who wrote a widely shared social media post lamenting a lack of job opportunities in the country has told newsmen that his degree is worthless. Asefa Alemu who vowed to return his degree, to Asosa University. The 29-year-old currently works as a laborer in Ndre Marcos town, about 300 kilometers north of the capital, Addis Ababa. He earns enough to sustain himself and help with other needs of his family. Enough to sustain himself, but he is struggling to repay 40,000 Ethiopian birr he owes in unpaid fees. He blames corruption for his plight. His Facebook post struck a chord with some graduates who shared their frustration. In a separate development, Zambia's Education Ministry has disowned pages of school books showing explicit sexual content that have been circulating on social media. According to a statement, the ministry says the pages are photoshopped and a misrepresentation of Zambian curriculum. It said one of the fake pages, which explains sex in lurid terms, originated from Tanzania and started circulating in the country in 2021. The ministry has also renamed its comprehensive sexuality education curriculum to life skills and health education framework, following complaints by teachers and religious leaders. Back here in Nigeria, a senatorial candidate was on Wednesday shot dead and his body burned by attackers while on his way from a campaign rally in the southern state of Enugu. The death of Oyibo Chukwu of the Labour Party happened 3 days before Saturday's general elections, which are being described as the country's most competitive polls in 24 years. His aides who were with him were also shot dead before their car was set ablaze with the bodies inside. The Labour Party has not commented on the attack, but its presidential candidate Peter Obi has been urging supporters to vote correctly, peacefully and hopefully. To conclude the news today on Spotlight Africa, the South African Police Service has warned community members after a lioness escaped from a container in Northwest Province. The lioness is said to have escaped while being transported by its owner on the back of a truck. It is not clear exactly when or how the big cat escaped from the container, with the owner only realizing it after reaching destination in the community. Meanwhile, nature reserve workers and farmers are on the hunt for the wild cat. The police have urged anyone who sees the lioness to report to the nature conservation authorities. It comes after 2 tigers went on the loose in 2 separate incidents last month in Gauteng province. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spotlight Africa. I am Uyai Anekan. Thanks for watching and to enjoy the rest of your evening.
The countdown is on as Nigeria decides who becomes its next president. The 2023 elections is upon us and the stage is set. At Spectrum TV, we have just one job: to keep you professionally and effectively informed round the clock as Nigeria decides. Spectrum TV Nigeria Decides Studio opens Friday, 24th February, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. and on the D-Day, Saturday, 25th February, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. as well as on Sunday, 26th February, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Join the conversation on our phone lines on 0704 541 7707 090 222 31011 and 0813 775 8639, as well as on all our social media platforms. Spectrum TV Nigeria Decides Studio. As always, join the conversation and watch us broaden your horizon.
As Nigeria prepares for the general elections holding from 25th February 2023, broadcasters are enjoined to make ethical reportage their watchword. All political programs shall observe the provisions of the Nigeria Broadcasting Code and other extant laws relating to broadcasting. All broadcasting stations must adhere to the